Welcome back. It's tier list time. So I was going to make a video for each game I played to review it, but the rate at which I've been completing the games and the rate at which I can edit and upload a video, it just wasn't going to work. So instead, we're just going to do incremental updates to the tier list in each video. The first game we're going to talk about is Wild Hearts. Wild Hearts is the first game I knocked off the list because I just didn't really like it that much. I played for about 3 hours almost before giving up. But first, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the things that I liked about the game, and then I'll talk about the things I didn't like. And for some context, the only other game I've played that is like this is Monster Hunter World. So I will be using that as my comparison point for this game. I really liked the monster design, and overall I think the aesthetic of the world is something I clung to more than I did with Monster Hunter World. Something I can say is that the combat does feel very smooth. And the co-op is honestly better and works smoother than it did Monster Hunter World. Something that I thought was interesting were the traps and contraptions that you could use in and outside of combat that really spiced up the gameplay more than just your traditional hunt the beast, kill the beast, craft better armor, etc., etc. And I think most of all, the thing that this game does best is it really is forgiving for new players to this genre of game. With all that out of the way, unfortunately, this game is still just more Monster Hunter, so if that's not for you, Wild Hearts probably isn't either. In my roughly about 3 hours of gameplay, I couldn't care less about the story and what was happening. It was just not really engaging. This next one applies to both Wild Hearts and Monster Hunter World, and that's that if you don't find the weapon that you align with the most, the combat can feel a little daunting at times. Up next, I want to talk about the game that, after playing it for countless hours and even going back trying to get some talking points for this video, I couldn't think of any flaws, and that's Hades. Hades, to me, might be one of the best games I've ever played, and that's why I'm giving it an S+ tier. When preparing for this video, I decided that I wanted to put little cliff notes of what I thought about each game, what I liked, what I didn't like. Tried to make it to where it was less rambling and not so scripted, kind of in between. And when I went back to look at Hades, I tried to find something I didn't like. But after each run I played, I still just loved everything. The music is so amazing. The writing is great. Art direction is beautiful. Voice acting is just phenomenal. And gameplay, most of all, is addicting and fun. I cannot stress this enough. If you have not played Hades, you are doing yourself a disservice. So do yourself a favor and download it. Next up, we have the first game that I completed on the journey of completing my backlog. Honestly, the game that motivated this whole thing, and that's Batman Arkham Knight. I think Batman Arkham Knight lands itself solidly in the B tier. First things first, for a game that came out in 2015, it still looks phenomenal. But that could be due to the fact that I am playing on an Xbox Series X. I will say that this game has improved upon some of its previous mechanics, from flying to combat to stealth. And speaking of stealth to combat, my favorite new addition in this game is honestly the multi-fear takedown. Being able to drop in, take out 2 or 3 foes on a large group, and then duck away back into cover, and then recharge the ability with stealth kills, feels pretty good. And of course, no Batman game is complete without his Rogues Gallery. And just like previous titles, the side quests are about the Rogues Gallery. And they're probably some of the best side missions in the franchise in this game alone. And with them making the gameplay improvements, flying and gliding around Gotham has never felt better. I just wish that it was used more. Which leads me into the first problem I had with the game. And that was the overuse of the Batmobile. I know. Shocker. the Batmobile is so overused that the Riddler challenges suck worse because of it. Because some of them force you into the Batmobile, and it's too much Batmobile. And of course, the thing that haunts this game, the Arkham Knight reveal. I'm not as big a hater as most people are for it being Jason Todd, which, spoiler alert, it's almost 10 years old. If you haven't played it at this point, I don't mind Arkham Knight being Jason Todd. My problem is how predictable it was. It wasn't really like a secret. Up next, we have Assassin's Creed Revelations. ACR is a solid B tier game. It's good, it's fine. It's more of what you'd come to expect after 2 and after Brotherhood. It's nice that we got more of Ezio and finally got to see the conclusion to his story. The music is still really good. And I love the in-universe way of making sure that 50-year-old Ezio can keep up with the newer assassins being the hook blade, which I find to be a great addition to the game. I also think that the plot isn't the worst of the first 4 games, but it still is very exposition heavy and can be a little slow at times. Now to talk about the things that I didn't like. I was not a huge fan of the Desmond sections. If you like the Desmond parkour stuff, cool. I'm really glad it was optional because I only did like 3 of them and then I moved on because they were just not fun. I severely think that they underplayed Altair. When I saw the marketing and the poster for this game, I thought Altair was going to be like someone else we got to play as. Like you would bounce back and forth between Ezio, Altair, and you could choose who you wanted to play, something like that. But they kind of sideline him, and he's just flashbacks. And it sucks because in his first game, the game sucked. It wasn't very good. It was really slow, boring. And then you have this one where you barely get to play as him. I just wish they would have done more. The plot is probably my favorite thus far of the franchise, being a culmination of a story, but it is still very slow and exposition heavy. Another optional feature I'm glad became optional was the tower defense. I wasn't the biggest tower defense guy. I think I did it like 3 times, but as soon as I found out I didn't have to, I didn't do them anymore. And I think the biggest fault of this game is there was no large innovation to the combat. It's still relatively simple. You have the multi-kills and the counter spam. Not very hard. The last game I played and completed recently was Assassin's Creed 3. This might be a controversial one, but I think Assassin's Creed 3 is A tier. I really like this game. I don't know. I do think there are things wrong with it. It's not like good. It's not S tier, but I think it's better than Revelations. It has the best combat in the series thus far, and I like that there's more to it than just counter spam. Yes, you'll be countering, but they added enemies that you need to break their defenses before you can attack them. You need to time your attack perfectly with the block so you don't just parry it, you actually counter attack, which adds a little bit more to the combat. Hands down, this is the best the free running has been in the series. We can finally fucking climb trees. Thank you. I also really like that this game has more Desmond and modern day Assassin's Creeding than any of the games thus far, might even be combined. I think something that plays to the strength of Assassin's Creed 3 is that the overall story isn't very long. And lastly, I love the tomahawk. I probably used it for about 85% of my playthrough. Now here's what I didn't like about Assassin's Creed 3. This will be the last time I mention it, but it's obvious to say that one of the biggest downfalls of Assassin's Creed is just its over-reliance on exposition. They are very lengthy story games. It does kind of suck that most of the playtime of this game is really sucked into the side content and side missions. This game does introduce one of my least favorite mechanics in all of Assassin's Creed: naval combat. God, I don't like the naval combat, and it is my biggest fear moving into Assassin's Creed 4. And lastly, the only thing that stops this game from being an S in my mind is this ending sucks. I really dislike making the whole point of Assassin's Creed just the 2012 phenomena, and I really hate that they killed Desmond, because I was hoping for a modern day Assassin's Creed game where I'm running around as Desmond and I'm killing the Abstergo agents, which we kind of get in the sections for Desmond for the game. I just wish there was more, I guess. And there it is. This is my official ranking for every game that I got through for the last month. And that's all I have for you guys today. I'll see you in the next one. I'm out of here. Peace, 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 peace. Cut that out. You know, you're editing this. Cut it the fuck out.